Alright, Alico 3, and today's video is going to focus solely on a presentation I've been preparing. This is kind of something that I started up around November. I just kind of put together some slides and went back to it here and there, thought of new topics and ways I could go about doing this to show you guys different aspects and discussion topics in the hobby. Not sure what I'll title the video, but hopefully it's received well. But this is stuff that I talk about on all my videos, my box breaks, my mail bins, which is kind of all put together in one video. And eventually I'll do separate videos on some of these topics because they're just too much to talk about. So this is kind of, think about it as like a college PowerPoint presentation, like if you took a history class or something like that. And I'm just going to kind of have fun with this, talk about these topics, and then make sure if you have the time to leave some feedback on what you think of the presentation. So let's start off with the first slide. First slide is the time value of hobby boxes. Now this is a kind of a theory I've had on breaking hobby boxes, and to me it's very time sensitive. This is a topic that Baseball Card Junkies TV covered in a past video that I'm just going to kind of add my own 2 cents to it. So I feel like the best time to open a product obviously is when it first comes out. You know, that's when the secondary market values are the highest. You're going to get the most money for the cards you do sell. You might pay a little more for the box price, but after a certain amount of time, the box prices, some of them rise, and the value of the singles drops. Now, when this happens, it's kind of like the enough time has passed that the product's not hot in the hobby anymore, but the box prices stayed the same, but the singles you're getting out of the packs are going down. So at this time, I think it's best to move on to other products. One example would probably be 2017 Panini Contenders Football, and the reason I say this is twofold. Onefold, when I think it dropped like the week after Christmas, and everybody was pretty excited for it because it's one of those flag mark products in the hobby. And now that it's been 2.5 months, people have moved on to other things. The prices have probably come down on the singles. And also, when they came out with Contenders Optic last week, I think that's going to hurt sales of Contenders. So the next slide just kind of solidifies my views on that. So, and this holds true for products, 2010 to 2016. After a while, those box prices stayed pretty steady. I mean, except for 2013, that's just a terrible rookie class. But for the most part, those box prices stay steady or go up. And the amount of stars out of those boxes goes down because as time goes on, players that don't pan out into like pretty much Hall of Famers, they lose most of their value. Even like from 2008, you got Jamal Charles, who won't be a Hall of Famer, but his cards aren't worth much at all. Because you kind of have to be like pretty much from 2008, Matt Ryan, from 2009, Stafford, 2010, Antonio Brown. I mean, that's just kind of the way it is. So, plus you got to deal with redemptions and stuff like that. So to me, it's just not worth it. So that's that. Next slide. Group breaks. And this is a topic that I want to make a separate video on this topic because I just think there's so much you can talk about with this. But I'll just start off with making this video. And group breaks are good for the hobby, but I think there's also some cons to them. My theory is that group breakers, all these guys, Platinum, Group Card Breaks, and Leighton, and even Cards Infinity, who would be on my YouTube Hall of Fame list. I think what they do is keep the prices of hobby boxes and cases up because they're the ones that are filling all these products that a lot of people would never spend their own money on, like a personal box or case, but they will buy a slot, for 30 or 50 bucks, buy a team or a player or something like that. So it's like the case prices continue to go up and it prices out the common collector. The positive is there are more singles on the market. So, and something else that this kind of brings to mind is I think the knowing that these companies know that they have these breakers that are going to buy case after case. So I think it takes a little more pressure off them to make solid products. Throw more sticker autos in, event worn stuff nonstop, because I mean they know they're going to get them broken by the case breakers. One positive aspect though of the group breaking is I think it brings a lot of people into the hobby, and it allows people to be involved in like a full case without spending all that money. To me, that's really cool because it'd be expensive to buy a case. Singles versus breaking boxes. This is something that I've covered time and time again, and most people kind of have a pretty similar opinion on it in terms of the economical. It's definitely smarter to buy singles. Most people know that. I mean, with boxes, your expectations shouldn't be too high. I think part of what you're paying for when you open a box is the experience and the enjoyment of getting the random cards. Being able to get pack fresh cards that have a better chance of getting a PSA 9 or PSA 10 is also definitely another pro. But there's just a lot more value if you buy singles. One thing you could consider is doing like a 90-10 split, like spending 85-90% of your money on singles, then saving a little bit for a box here or there. But don't go crazy on the hobby boxes if you care about value and stuff like that. But that's that one. Now we're gonna move on to extended rookies. Now these slides aren't in any like order, it's just kind of different topics in the hobby that I wanted to touch base on and see how everybody felt about it. So an XRC is an extended rookie. One example I put on here is the Barry Bonds. You got the 86 Fleer update on the left, and on the right we have the Fleer. I believe it's just Fleer. But the extended rookie is just I think it's a term that came about by Beckett. They put it in their magazine and everybody goes by it now. But it's just the rookie that comes out like the year before the official rookie, which Beckett has. I think they staked the claim to RC and the official rookie. What's not a rookie? What's the rookie year? I mean, there's a ton of stuff you can talk about with that. But you'll see these cards from time to time. Not much anymore though. So we got the three grading companies. Everybody knows me. I'm a PSA man. But there are two others that I consider in the 3-tier class of the most popular or best, and you got BGS and SGC. So PSA started slabbing. I know it was 1991, and Beckett was 1999. Positives of this, include a strong, durable slab for the protection of your, valuable cards. Having them slabbed can increase the value, and it also eliminates the fear of fakes and counterfeit cards. To me, and this is just basic, using therapy for research, PSA cards sell for the most on the secondary market, whether it be vintage or raw. I mean, vintage, there's not even a debate. But negatives include different eyes and day. So different eyes, day, and greater. It's definitely not a perfect science. It's kind of like balls and strikes in baseball. There is a gray zone to it, to where one grader on one day might think your card's a 9, the next day it's a 10. I mean, there's no perfect science to this. I think they're doing the best job they can, but it's not perfect. So, but all three companies do have collectors clubs where you can save money, and they do also authenticate different kinds of items. You can send a bat in or a jersey and see if it's actually real. So very cool companies. Here's just a quick value comparisons of all three companies. So on the far left here we have the 1989 Upper Deck Ken Griffey Jr. Star Rookie. One of the most iconic baseball cards of all time, I'd say. So this is just the market data from the last 90 days or so. So the PSA 10 one's going for about $330 to $430. The Beckett one's about $150 to $325, and then the SGC is about $175 to $300. So this is just one card, but I think if you went across most cards, it'd be a nice split like this. PSA tends to sell for the most. I think Beckett and SGC are close. I think Beckett might sell for a little bit more, but it depends on the card, I guess. And then this slide is kind of one of my theories. So fake gem mints and gimmicks. To me, I feel like, and I've talked about this in the mail bins, I feel like Beckett has started to rely on gimmicks to try to compete with the secondary market values of PSA 10s. these include Pristine 10s, which came out, I think those have been out for a while now. And then within the last 2 years, they come out with the black label Pristine 10, which, it's all 10 subgrades. They're both ways just to increase the secondary market sales. PSA does now have the Lighthouse holder, which is the most secure slab on the market. It's kind of comparable to a $100 bill. It's got like the kind of like the check watch thing on the back or something, to where it's almost impossible to actually counterfeit one of these. I am going to give Beckett the nod. Their slab is stronger, and they do have an inner mylar sleeve on every card slab, which is actually really cool. So to me, a fake gem mint, and I've heard collectors at shows reference this before too, and to me it's when you have like 395s and then a 9 subgrade. So you might have a 9 corner or a 9 surface, and then when you actually take a look at that corner, you see like a ding, and the card doesn't represent what you feel a gem mint card is. So to me, like, I stay far away from those cards. Or you might have like a scratch surface that got surface 9 and it still gets a gem mint. I think this is where the subgrade system fails Beckett. But a lot of people love the subgrades, and that's cool. Everybody can like what they want. Here's some examples. So on the far left here, we have the Correa base chrome from 2013 auto. And the fake gem mint one, the surface is 9. So I would be guessing if you snap this thing out of there, there would be a pretty sizable scratch to where you'd be like, I don't really think this is a true gem mint card of what I think a gem mint is. In the middle, you have the Pristine 10, which would definitely trump any sale of a PSA 10. And then the black label is just, it actually looks kind of cool, but that's definitely just a gimmick. And it's smart by Beckett, because those things sell for crazy amounts. And I do have an example further down this video of how much a Pristine 10 sold for compared to a 9.5, a pretty iconic card. Rookie hype. So this happens every year. Last year in baseball we had Judge and Bellinger, and they were the kings of the hobby, and they'll probably still be pretty hot here. Chris Bryant was pretty hot, I believe, 2015. In pro football, this last 2017 season, we had Kareem Hunt and Deshaun Watson, and then Dak and Zeke in 2016. And I think I stated a lot on my videos, expect Dak and Zeke cards to fall pretty hard, and they did fall. Best bet is to wait until the hype falls and then the prices settle to purchase. Same with new products. Wait until products put out a few weeks or months and it decreases. That kind of goes totally against what I said about breaking a product when it first comes out. I think there's certain products that if they're cheap enough and you wait, you can get some value out of those, but I think those are more of like the 20-pack boxes where you get like lots of inserts and rookies. So that's what I'm trying to say there. But it's very rare for a player to be worth more than when his hype starts. Examples, I think Correa is worth a little more than when his hype started. Trout and probably Harper. Here's just some players that I feel like have had some hype around them in the last year or so. So on the far left here, we have Ronald Acuna. His stuff's just going to be on fire soon if he starts the season with the Braves as their center fielder. And then Deshaun Watson. And we have Donovan Mitchell in basketball, who could win the Rookie of the Year. And then, of course, Judge and Bellinger. So those are just some hype players. So what is a PSA 10 Gem Mint card? This is actually straight from their this Sports Market Report. So PSA 10 Gem Mint card is a virtually perfect card. You got 4 perfectly sharp corners, sharp focus, full gloss. Must be free of staining, but there is an allowance for a slight printing imperfection, so maybe a small scratch on the back. If it does not impair the overall appeal of the card, I think if it was on the front, it would be a bigger detractor to a PSA 10. The image must be centered not to exceed 55-45 to 60-40 on the front and 75-25 on the back. Many cards appear to be gem mint when you look at them quickly, but upon closer inspection, you'll see the small things that take it away from actually being a gem mint card. That's why gem mints sell for such premiums. They're hard to find, but often the difference between a 9 and a 10 is so small that it's better off to save yourself a lot of money and get a nice clean PSA 9 that you think is really close to a 10. Here's some examples of tougher sets that I talk about. This 2004 SPX is one of the toughest sets I've ever seen. It's just always chipped up here on this border, right here, this right border, and chipped up all around it and on the back. But this one is a PSA 10 example that sold recently, and there's virtually no white on it, so it's pretty much perfect. And this Breeze 01 SPX, this card's often chipped badly. This one might have a little white speck in the left, but that's something that is allowed for a PSA 10. But it looks great. Now this is something that we have to deal with in the hobby. Some people might like it even. It's the exclusive rights. So all four of the major sports have struck deals with companies for the sole right to make those cards. To me, I think competition would be best. It's just nice to have different companies bring in their flair and take to the hobby. It won't happen for years. I think all these deals are signed and they're going to go on for many more years to come. So Topps has baseball, Panini has football and basketball, and Upper Deck has hockey. Yeah, like I said before, there's no outside competition. Is there a strong incentive to improve the products? But I'm not saying that these companies are putting out bad products. I just think competition would be better for all avenues of business. Sports cards pretty much sell themselves. I mean, people that collect cards are trying to connect to their favorite teams, players, and childhood memories and stuff like that. So, I mean, I feel like any cards you make, people are going to buy. I mean, people even buy the baseball cards by Panini that don't even have the team name or the logo. To me, those are just really ugly cards. So next one is vintage versus modern. This is I actually enjoy both I like both types of cards. So vintage cards can be extremely valuable if the right player and it's in the right condition. Many are beat up and don't hold much value when they're creased down the middle, and just look really bad. There's something simple and basic about the Topps cards from the 50s to 70s that just catches my eye, and I think a lot of other collectors just like seeing nice, clean examples like PSA 5s to 7s. Um, More modern cards are kind of relying on numbering, jerseys, and autos to try to create value in those cards. Modern cards have some very nice designs, and some modern cards are worth extraordinary amounts of money too. So both cards have pros and cons. Here's an example of a vintage and a modern card. So here on the left you see the classic Mantle 64 image. Beautiful, clean white borders and corners, just a nice look. And then on the right it's kind of more like a modern looking card. It's the gold refractor of Eloy Jimenez. He might be a guy that you could group into the rookie hype. I think his stuff's worth a lot. But this is like a gold refractor, lots of shine. To me, both cards look awesome. Ways to collect. So there's a lot of different ways to collect. You can be set builder, player team, graded cards, binders, rainbows. There's just so many ways you can go about it, and everybody just has the right to choose how they want to collect and what they want to buy. And I know I've got some strong opinionated viewers on my YouTube channel, like my buddy Rick Hoops, who always brings a positive vibe and spin, who says just to buy like vintage and pre 1950, and he's probably got a great point. It's just for me it wouldn't be that enjoyable, and there's got to be some enjoyment in this. Bidding on eBay. Now this is a good topic because I think a lot of people waste money because they allow show bidders and people that have no intentions of winning valuable cards bid up their high bid. So my advice would be to invest in a sniping tool. I've used justsnipe.com for the last like 7 years, and it'll basically put my highest bid in with like 3 seconds, or I always picked 1 second left, and that's just it goes in, and that's the most I'll pay. I don't have to worry about shilling. Terapeak, check that website out. It's kind of expensive, so if you want to team up with 4 or 5 people, or even more, like up to 10 people, and you guys could all go in on a subscription. Probably about $20 per person, and you get great market research. COMC, awesome company. They offer flat rate shipping from multiple sellers. You can buy 50 cards from 40 sellers and pay $3.99 shipping, which is just awesome. They use each and every card is scanned. There's no stock photos. So if I'm looking for a card to possibly, get a PSA 9 or 10 on, I can scroll through 6 or 7 examples and kind of pick the nicest one to me. There's no guarantee when it gets in. There's not scratches. I couldn't tell. But you can really narrow down the cards that are nicer, and that's what I love about COMC. One of the negatives is just, and you kind of see this in all sites on the hobby, some of the prices are just so highly inflated that it's just kind of it's a joke to me. I'll skip past like the first few pages because everything's just so inflated. I don't even want to look at it, but it's definitely a positive addition to the hobby. Junk wax era. This is stuff. If you guys watch my mail bin or my box breaks, you'll see me breaking some junk wax just because it's so much damn fun. But mid 1980s, maybe the like 1981 to late 90s when I started to put like game jerseys and more autos in products. This is just a time period when there was so much production of these cards that it exceeded consumer demand. And this deems many rookies from this era not to hold a lot of value. Like, go back to 1991 and you got the Jim Tomei Bowman, and it just doesn't hold a lot of value because there's so many of it. Or even like the 1989 Ken Griffey Jr. Donruss card, which is worth like $2. So cards from this era, I put 3 boxes here. This is 89 Topps, 93 Upper Deck Series 2. This actually has the Jeter in it. And 87 Donruss with the Bonds. This is a problem that's been going on for years and years. It's the saturation problem. And this problem is, to some people, it might not be a problem. It might be awesome to collect every single parallel for every single set. But to me, it's just overkill. They make parallels out of 250, 100, 50, 25, 15, 5. Then there's 1-on-1s, and there's just a lot of sets that look very similar. And they have those event-worn jerseys that don't really hold a lot of value. Not many people are that big into that. One example I had to bring out is Contenders 2017 football. And they back about 5 years ago, I think Panini did a great job with Contenders. But now they've just gone and kind of just too much, man. This is just different examples of Chimera cards I found, and this isn't even probably half of them. So here you got the base auto, not numbered, cracked dice, the Rookie of the Year, the variation horizontal, draft class auto, championship ticket, cracked dice with a different picture, and it probably goes on and on and on. Back like 2012, there was probably 5 different autos or something, and I think it was plenty. Now they've just gone nuts. This is for people that break older products, mainly like 1990 to 1999 wax, kind of like Fleer Ultra or Leaf. It's called the Snowflake Problem or Dilemma. The cards are basically just stuck together, and when you take them apart, there's little white dots all over them, so they're all basically ruined. So I've thrown out boxes before. Possible causes include simply time and being left, in an unclimate controlled environment, maybe sitting in the heat for years and years. That makes sense to me. Somebody told me to put a box that you think is damaged in the freezer, and I actually did it, so we'll see if that works. I don't think it'll work. Shipping is always on the rise, and the post office is increasing prices again, and this has caused shippers on eBay mainly to raise shipping. I think like the lowest you'll find shipping now is like $350. People are charging $450, crazy amounts, but they have to combat it. It costs $350 now to go into the post office and ship like a 2-ounce package. So the best way is to buy multiple cards from the same seller and see if they'll combine the shipping. You get a little more bang for your buck there. Pop is something that I talk about on my channel, and it's basically just for me, I go on PSA's website, and it shows a vast like a detailed history of each card. So if I want a specific card, I want to see how many 9s and 10s there are and how many have been slabbed. It shows me how tough his set is. It's just a great reference to see what grades have been attained over time. So it's a fantastic way to gauge how tough a set is or not. Here's a pop example, the 93 Derek Jeter, the Upper Deck rookie. So I just kind of put all the numbers here. So there's been 6,560 slabbed, and only 504 got PSA 10s. And here's the numbers for the 9s and 10s. So tons of 9s and tons of 8s and some 7s. And there's also, 6s in here, 6 5s. I just put these numbers out. So out of all of them, 504 10s out of 6,560 slabs, 7.7 pop, which to me is low. And I've always thought this is a tough set. And if you guys watch the mail bins, my goal is to buy one raw one day and get a 10. And I'm still working on it. Sloppy shipping. This happens to me all the time. Sellers just don't tape cards in. They don't put cardboard around them or anything. They just basically throw it into a package. I think something you can do to try to help this problem is to leave fair feedback. Doesn't mean you have to get all pissed off and write like something mean and negative. Maybe just leave neutral and say, please secure the card with tape. The card could have been damaged much worse. So that could help. Theory on grading. Now this is why I'll send 500 cards in at a time. To me, I think a lot of people that are buying slab cards are just buying the slab. You know, they're buying the card too, but it's nice to have it in that slab. So if I'm paying $6, let's say, on a 500 card bulk order, and the card that I'm grading is only valued at $1, it'll still sell for like $5 or $6, even in like a low grade, like a PSA 7 or 8. Um, to me, this is it gives me more and more incentive to send in a lot of cards, because when I do hit nines and tens, you're actually starting to see some profit on those ones. But it's just a great way to not lose a ton of money, is to send in bulk orders, because PSA is a little more expensive when you get into the regular service. I think it's 18 per card now, that's high. Here's two examples of what I'm talking about here. So on the left here, we have just a base, Miguel Sano, Bowman Chrome Rookie. I probably bought it for a couple bucks on ComC or something. And I thought it looked better than I did. I must have missed something. So it got a PSA 8, and this is with shipping. This is two things. These are cards that have sold the last month or so. It sold for $9.50. So I pretty much broke even on an 8 grade. You know, if it would have got a 9 or 10, there would have been some profit in it. And then when things do go well, like this Moncada, probably like a $3 card raw, I sold it for 43. So you kind of get what I'm getting at with the bulk stuff. Buy the card and not the holder. Examine your newly purchased PSA or Beckett cards to see if the condition matches the grade on the slab. And you should all have expectations for what you think a gem mint card is. There's been times when I bought a PSA 10, I'm like, this doesn't look like a 10, so I sell it. Or a Beckett 9.5, this looks like a Beckett 8.5. I'm not going to keep it. I'll sell it and see if somebody else wants it. Make sure to find cards you are satisfied based with what you think a gem mint card is. Never overpay for a label. The grade is only an opinion, and it deserves further examination. One of the huge pros of going to like an in-person show is being able to pick the card up in the slab and take a close look at it without doing it online. I definitely want to get out to more shows and meet some tubers this coming year, so that's definitely a goal of mine. I will be at the National though. Here's some price comparisons. This is just bonkers. Like this Griffey score, 1989, 764 for a pristine 10 on February 25th of this year, and then the basic market value on the 9.5, the fake gem one is like 25 to 30. So is this card really worth $725 more because the subs are a little higher? It doesn't make any sense to me. I think people are buying this right here, this pristine 10. That's my opinion. Awesome company, Perfect Fit Innovations. They've been out for about a year or two. They just make sleeves that fit your slabs perfectly. And they support PSA, BGS, SGC. You can get soft sleeves for top loaders, sleeves for one-touch mags. Here's the website, perfectfitsleeves.com, if you want to check it out. But I always rant and rave about them, and a lot of people that watch my channel also use their stuff. Here's just a picture of them. So that's what they look like. They're like I think they're like a mom and pop company. They're just like a startup company. They're not like a big company like Ultra Pro, but they do a fantastic job. And then Kronocard is software, and Kronozio is the website. So this is like a new efficient software that I've used to build my cardboard future store up tremendously in the last 9 months or so. So if you have the right scanner, like a document feeding scanner, that there's a format where you can type in your stuff and get 50 cards listed in 10 or 15 minutes. It's pretty much a game changer if you have a lot of stuff you want to list. And there is an eBay listing connector to merge listings from Kronocard straight to eBay. They're based in Canada. The guy I work with name's Jonathan. He's a really nice guy. So there's the website for that. And the PSA Registry, this will be like the last main topic we talk about. It offers collectors a chance to enter their cert numbers into the system and attain points to be ranked among other collectors. It's very addicting and fun, but it can slightly or strongly influence you to purchase cards that you really aren't a big fan of just to get more points. Like I found myself buying a card I wasn't even a big fan of, maybe like a Griffey or LeBron, and then putting it into the registry, and then I sell it later on because I'm like, I don't really like that card. Do I really want to just buy it just to move up, 0.05 in this ranking? So just try to stick to cards that you actually enjoy and see how high you get in the registry, and whatever you get is what you get. Two examples of cards that I'm not a fan of at all, but they are in the master set for two players I collect. So on the left, we got the LeBron James Diary set. I think there's like 30, 25 or 30 of those, and I'm just not a fan of those. And then the front row Griffey, it's just kind of like an off-brand, not a neat card at all to me, and those are both in there. So if you wanted to, you could add them in and get points, but I wouldn't spend my money on those, in my opinion. That brings us to the end. So that's it, guys. This was a lot of fun doing this. I put this thing together, and I think people are gonna definitely like this video, but I want to hear everybody's opinions on it. In the end, this is fun. I mean, you are investing to some point, but a lot of it is just you're having fun. You maybe spending time with your family doing it, or your kids, or even your parents. Buy what you like. It makes you happy and brings you joy. Listen and learn to the outside advice. Tips. I'm always learning from other people on YouTube or wherever. But follow what you truly want to collect. So I'm going to end it right here. Had a lot of fun doing this, and everybody take care. Later.